currently Earth.
It was on February 24th in the year 1803 that the Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice John Marshall, decides the landmark case of William Marbury versus James Madison, Secretary of State of the United States, and confirms the legal principle of judicial review, the ability of the Supreme Court to limit congressional power by declaring legislation unconstitutional in the new nation. The court ruled that the new president, Thomas Jefferson, via his Secretary of State, James Madison, was wrong to prevent William Marbury from taking office as Justice of the Peace for Washington County in the District of Columbia. However, it also ruled that the court had no jurisdiction in the case and could not force Jefferson and Madison to seat Marbury. The Judiciary Act of 1789 gave the Supreme Court jurisdiction, but the Marshall Court ruled the Act of 1789 to be an unconstitutional extension of judiciary power into the realm of the executive. In writing the decision, John Marshall argued that the acts of Congress in conflict with the Constitution are not law and therefore non-binding to the courts, and that the judiciary's first responsibility is always to uphold the Constitution. If two laws conflict, Marshall wrote, the court bears the responsibility for deciding which law applies in any given case. Thus, Marbury never received his job. Apparently, before our nation's second president, John Adams, left office, there were some midnight judges. These were people that John Adams appointed simply hours before our third president, Thomas Jefferson, took office. Jefferson and Madison objected to Marbury's appointment and those of all the so-called midnight judges. To further aggravate the new Democratic-Republican administration, many of these Federalist judges, although Marbury was not one of them, were taking the bench in new courts formed by the Judiciary Act, which the lame duck Federalist Congress passed on February 13th in 1801, less than a month before Jefferson's inauguration on March 4th. As part of the Revolution of 1800, President Thomas Jefferson and his Democratic-Republican followers launched a series of attacks against the Federalist-controlled courts. The new Democratic-Republican-controlled Congress easily eliminated most of the midnight judges by repealing the Judiciary Act in 1802. They impeached Supreme Court Justice Samuel Chase, but acquitted him amidst inter-party squabbles. The Chase acquittal, coupled with Marshall's impeccably argued decision, put an end to the Jeffersonian attack. It was February 24th in the year 1917 that the Zimmerman telegram was presented to the U.S. ambassador. During World War I, British authorities gave Walter H. Page, the U.S. ambassador to Britain, a copy of the Zimmerman telegram, a coded message from Arthur Zimmerman, the German Foreign Secretary, to Count Johann von Bernstorff, the German ambassador to Mexico. In the telegram, intercepted and deciphered by British intelligence in late January, Zimmerman stated that in the event of war with the U.S., Mexico should be asked to enter the conflict as a German ally. In return, Germany promised to restore to Mexico the lost territory of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. After receiving the telegram, Page promptly sent a copy to U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, our nation's 28th president, who in early March allowed the U.S. State Department to publish the note. The press initially treated the telegram as a hoax, but Arthur Zimmerman himself confirmed its authenticity. The Zimmerman telegram helped turn U.S. public opinion, already severely strained by repeated German attacks on U.S. ships, firmly against Germany. On April 2nd, President Wilson, who had initially sought a peaceful resolution to end World War I, urged the immediate U.S. entrance into the war. 4 days later, Congress formally declared war against Germany. It was February 24th in the year 1946 that Juan Perón was elected president in Argentina. In 1943, as an army officer, he joined a military coup against Argentina's ineffectual civilian government. Appointed Secretary of Labor, his influence grew, and in 1944, he also became Vice President and Minister of War. In October of 1945, Perón was ousted from his position by a coup of constitutionally minded civilians and officers and imprisoned, but appeals from workers and his charismatic mistress, Eva Duarte, soon forced his release. The night of his release, October 17th, he addressed a crowd of some 300,000 people from a balcony of the presidential palace and promised to lead the people to victory in the coming presidential election. 4 days later, Perón, a widower, married Eva Duarte, or Evita, as she became affectionately known. As president, Perón constructed an impressive populist alliance, and his vision of self-sufficiency for Argentina won him wide support. However, he also became increasingly authoritarian, jailing political opponents and restricting freedom of the press. In 1952, his greatest political resource, Evita, continued her eternity, and support for him dissolved. 3 years later, he was ousted in a military coup. In 1973, after 18 years of exile, he returned to Argentina and won the presidency again. His third wife, Isabel de Martínez Perón, was elected as vice president and in 1974 succeeded him upon his continuance of paternity. The information documented on this audio file can be verified on History.com.